Friday. I am Derrick Day, and he is.
I am Aaron Tomlinson.
Yes, sir. It's good to see you, my man.
Thank you. Good
Yeah,
to
I
be here.
was. Yeah, I know you've been under the weather. I was concerned about you, but whenever I get to see your smiling face, man, this is like great way
Yeah,
to start the weekend.
yeah. I appreciate you reaching out. I'm trying to shake this respiratory infection that I have, and so I was telling you in the green room, or before we got on, that
Yep.
I'm on a lot of meds. So we'll see how it goes tonight. So I'm going light. I got a glass of wine. I'm going to sip, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, I've got a heaping helping of what I call McFucket. Glenlivet,
All
Scotch.
right.
Yeah, McFucket. So anyway, I think we have a really awesome topic to discuss tonight. So in light of what's in your glass, Aaron, we're going light tonight.
Yes.
We're going light. We're talking about finding happiness.
Hmm.
Finding happiness. And something, I would ordinarily take the reins and run with this, but I'm going to hand it over to you and have you set this up. Finding happiness. What does finding happiness mean?
Yeah.
Or what
So
does it mean to you, and how
yeah,
can others help?
yeah. I've been thinking about it, and it's tough because life exists on a spectrum. Our emotions exist on a spectrum. And so, we've talked about this before on this program. There's a lot of things that happen out there in life that we have no control over. And the only thing we can really control is how we respond to the things that are out of our control, right?
Yep.
Control what we can, influence what we can, correlate with what we can, cause what we can, and then respond to what we can't. And I think all of that comes into play with happiness, right? So for me, and just in thinking about this, um, finding happiness boils down to two things primarily. And I reserve the right to grow in real time,
Yep.
grow in real time on Freeology. There we go. Um, excuse me. Um, and that is attitude and choice.
Mm.
So a lot of it's attitude. A lot of it's how we look at things. You could talk about, are you a glass half full kind of person or a glass half empty kind of person? And one of the things, even though I've been really down physically, it's, I've just been exhausted and forced to just rest, which is always good for me. And, but it's caused me to do a lot of introspecting. And one of the things I realized is I could definitely, and it's fun that it's November and, we're coming up on Thanksgiving and all that stuff. And I thought I could definitely grow in this area of gratitude. So one of the things that I found when my mom passed away, and I knew that she did this because she would talk about this, but one of the things that I found, two things actually, I found one of her journals and I found a basket. It was almost like a little Easter basket, if you can picture this. It was full of index cards, right? And they both served the same purpose. And one was a gratitude journal, and the other was just index cards for every day where she would write down something that happened that day that she was grateful for.
Mm.
And the reason that's so powerful for me is because my mom went through a lot of hell in her life, man. She, in her latter years, before she turned 50, my dad had lost everything,
Mm.
subjected the family to public disgrace. Image and everything was always super important to my mom, and she was involved in all that generation was very involved in service organizations and things like that. So she was always attending. I looked at her calendars from back in the 80s. She always had some event that she was doing, whether it was 4-H or Christian Women's Club or PEO or Eastern Stars, whatever. I mean, she was just involved in a lot of organizations, right? And she did a lot of hosting and hospitality and stuff like this. And that all came crashing down on her overnight, and then she had to go to work to support the family, and she was a housewife. So she took two jobs. She was working two jobs. For the next 20 years, she worked 15 of those. She worked two jobs. She worked a job at the courthouse and she worked a retail job. And my dad could be kind of rough to live with. especially when he was hitting the bottle after everything happened. And then she lost a granddaughter
Mm,
later to leukemia. And I don't know, man. I found the gratefulness, and I had a mixed emotional reaction because I was inspired, and at the same time I was almost ashamed,
mm,
because I was like, my life has been I've had an amazing life circumstantially, and yet I am too quick to find the things that are wrong and commiserate over those things and complain about those things. And here my mom was handed a pretty rough deck, right?
yeah.
And yet she every day, I mean, those journals, that journal was full, that basket was full of, it's not like, we'll start, oh, I'm going to do a gratitude journal, and we do good for the first week or the first 9 or 10 days or whatever, and then we get busy and we don't come back to it for 3 months. Like hers was consistently every day. She lived that practice. And when she passed away, we got literally thousands of people, visits, cards, letters, Facebook messages, emails. And I was amazed at how many people said, your mom always made me feel like I was loved. Your mom always made me feel like I was welcome. Your mom always took time to listen to me and stuff like that. And I think because a good foundation of her life was built on gratitude, right? So that's something I thought just to challenge myself to say, I'm going to start focusing more on what's gone right, what's positive, and try to be more grateful and less cantankerous in my old age. So I think attitude and perspective and choice has a lot to do with finding happiness. So with that, I'll kick it back to you. Did I lose you, Derrick? Because I'm not. Yep.
Oh, and there
There
we
you
go. And then you're back, just like that.
are. Did I get kicked out?
Yeah, you got kicked out. You basically it said connection lost. I don't know what happened,
Okay.
but
Well, anyway, it was a good monologue.
no, I think you got most of it. It was like maybe a 2 second delay, a two
Yeah.
or three
Okay.
second delay. Um, you know, I always think of people like your mom that have, they've had it all, lost it all, and somehow managed to, to reclaim something. And
Mhm.
and when people are like that, I think that your mom may have really understood in a very essential sense the meaning of happiness,
Mhm.
right? In other words, you talked about how life is, mostly how you react to it, not what happens to you, because you can't control what happens to you. You can't control circumstances, situations. A lot of this stuff's out of your control. But this is my take, right? That you control. Can you hear me?
I lost you. I didn't know if I lost you or you lost me. I wasn't sure.
No, I see you.
Okay.
Uh,
You
or,
froze
or
up on me and I couldn't hear anymore. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here, but it just kind of farted. Um, but anyway, let me do this. Let me look here and see if make sure that this thing is chugging, and it looks like it is. It looks like it's going. So, folks, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Oklahoma is a fucking third world country when it comes to public utilities. I'm just
well,
gonna say that. And
it's
and
Pueblo,
so
Colorado. So,
yeah, well, I've done something to mitigate it. I got solar panels put on my house,
ah,
you know, and I got a generator. So if the power goes out, I'm good, right? but um, but man, oh man, it's like internet. It's like it's so sketchy. But anyway, we're talking about happiness, and um, what I've learned is, in order to be happy, you have to first be able to identify what makes you unhappy, right?
True.
And when you identify what makes you unhappy, then you have to do one of two things with it. One is that you either have to eliminate it or mitigate it, right?
Mhm.
Because you can't eliminate everything that makes you unhappy. For
Yeah.
example, if your guy is not your, if the guy in the White House is not your guy, you can't do anything about that. So you have to figure out how to mitigate that so that you're not unhappy.
Mm.
But what I've learned is like things that I know I can control, right? If they make me unhappy, I fix them. Like for example, if um, I mean, let's just say something really simple, like a pair of shoes. You know, the shoes, let's say the sneakers that I'm wearing, that I'm going out to run or walk in, they don't feel as good as they used to. So now I can go out and either um, change those sneakers by buying a new pair, or I can say maybe I can do some things like to mitigate the problem with the shoes by putting inserts in them, insoles or whatever, right? And this is the thing, and I'm speaking about this from my own life, and things that I've gone through for like the last 5 years, because I have I have been silently unhappy. Confession time, confession time, moment of transparency. I've been silently unhappy. Now, what I mean by that is that it like the Smokey Robinson song, "The Tears of a Clown." Uh, that's how I was. I mean, I was basically smiling to the world, but I'm dying inside. And so I had to make some hard choices about my life, about how I was, how I was dealing with people, circumstances, around me, and had to really look at, okay, what makes me happy? What makes me happy? And so I decided that everything that I can eliminate that makes me unhappy, I'm unloading.
Mm.
And then this is another thing too. I want to talk about people because this is really, really important. And I hope somebody that's hearing this really hears my heart on this because not everybody who's among you is with you. There are lots of people in your social circles, in your sphere of influence, your family even, that they're around you, they're among you, but they're not with you. And and this is another. I don't eliminate people from my life simply because they disagree with me, but I will not have anyone in my inner circle who does not actively participate in my happiness anymore.
Mm.
I mean, because there are some people that make you happy by circumstance. They happen to say a kind word or they perform a kind deed, and it's a one-off, right? And you have to learn how to discern between those and the people who just are really. So let me give you a shout out real quick, brother mine. I've known you for 5 years. We've been doing this show for over 3 years, and you have been a consistent, positive, reinforcing, challenging voice in my life, right? And so when I saw that my relationship with you made me consistently happy.
Mm.
So that meant that's something you are someone who is in my inner circle. You get to ride in the car with me. See, there are people in your life who get to ride in the car with you, and there are other people that walk alongside of you, or they're in another car going in the same direction as you, but they're not necessarily in your car.
Yeah,
So
makes
you're in my
sense.
car. So I've become very selective about the people in my car, the
Hmm.
words spoken in my car, the music that's played in my car, the scents and smells and tastes that are in my car, because I am intently and intentionally focused on happiness.
Mhm.
And when I got hold of this, once I got hold of this, this changed my life. And what it did is it brought me out of that dark, silent place
Mhm.
that the real me was hiding in, while the projected me was smiling to the world,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
It's real
So
talk.
so I'm like, you have to make some real choices. Everybody that's listening, you have to make some real choices. And they're not going to be easy ones. But the key, I think, to a long life, besides physical fitness, besides good diet, is happiness. See,
Mhm.
it's like people say good attitude, right? And good attitude is great as long as you're in a happy place, right? But it's like, how can you have a good attitude when everybody around you is shitty toward you, or
Mhm.
when you're in a shitty work situation, or you're in a shitty community situation? You have to say, okay, it's 4th and 20.
Mhm.
What do you do? I mean, if you're you know if you're God dang, I'm having a senior moment. My man who plays for the Chiefs, um,
Patrick Mahomes, Travis
Patrick
Kelsey.
Mahomes. Thank you. I don't know
Oh,
why, for some reason, Kyler Murray was stuck in my head, and that's Arizona's quarterback. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
uh, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Patrick Mahomes kind of person, you're a fucking Superman at what you do. 4th and 20, you're going to punt.
Mhm.
And it's okay, because the thing is that if you punt in a deep down long yardage situation, you live to fight another day. But
Mm.
if you don't punt and you're deep in your own territory, and you got 20 yards to go, you give up the ball, you give up the easy score, right?
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying. Two things. Remember this, and I'm going to put it in the chat, and I'll put it on the screen. The two things that you need to do is learn to eliminate what makes you unhappy, or learn to mitigate it. How some coping strategy, because the thing is, things that you can't control, you have to cope with. You have to figure it out. But the things that you can control, hey, you can give it the boot. So that's where I'll kick it back over to you,
Yeah,
man.
and I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder why it is, and that's some real talk there that you're talking. But I wonder what it is about us, and I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing from people in the chat too. Like, why do we stay in situations with people or that make us, or with things that make us unhappy? Why do we do
Ooh,
those things?
that's a
And
good
why is it
question.
so hard for us to make choices for our own happiness and well-being? That should be the easiest thing in the world. That should be the most natural thing in the world, right? And yet it seems to be one of the hardest things for people to do. And I don't know if it's if we feel guilty about it. I don't know if, you know, it's just a lot of, for some of us, like maybe you and me, Derek, if it's a lot of religious programming that
Mhm.
you still have to dump those files subconsciously, those, some of those subconscious frames about um, you know, God, I mean, the Christian religion is so masochistic. It's like sadomasochism. I mean, I hate to
Yeah.
use that kind of analogy, but it's like, unless you're suffering, unless you're sacrificing, unless you're putting God and other people above yourself, God doesn't care about your happiness. He cares about your faithfulness. God doesn't care about your happiness. He cares about your obedience, whatever kind of bullshit that is. But it's not just Christians, because I counsel people, right? I counsel people that aren't Christians or don't have any religion with them. And I find that this is a consistent theme for people, that it's really hard to dump some of those things that are creating unhappiness. And you're absolutely right. You can't, you know, if you're a palm tree, you're not going to grow in the mountains of Colorado, right?
Yep.
And you can try all day long to grow in the mountains of Colorado, but it ain't going to happen. You got to get in Southern California. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, it's the environment is important. And if your environment is making you unhappy, if your environment's toxic and you just can continue in it, why do we do that? That's my question. Why is it so difficult for us to make those choices to eliminate or mitigate things in our life, situations in our life that are causing us unhappiness? What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I posted something on Instagram today that you will never be free as long as you're comforted by your chains.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. A lot of times, like Stockholm syndrome, right? We become and so Stockholm syndrome, trauma bonding, right? These are things that kind of keep you in a space when you know deep down inside that you should leave. But you know you're comforted by familiarity,
Mm-hmm.
you know, by association, by time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all of these things, you know, and you have to say to yourself, man, I've seen people in domestic violence situations
Mm-hmm.
and they endure it over and over and over. And I used to ask myself, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they do that? And you know what helped me understand that, Aaron? Christianity. Because for the most part, now I'm going to say that there are a few people out here that operate in some measure of freedom in Christianity, but I will say that the vast majority are in some form of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I know that's a harsh statement. A lot of people are not going to like that, but I believe that that's true. And what happens is that you get stuck in this slavery because first of all, you're in fear about the afterlife. If I get away from this, I'm going to go to hell. Or you're in this God pleasing mode, and you say, well, if I get out of this, then I'm going to disappoint God, right? And all of this, you know, seeing these things play out in my career in theology and ministry that it helped me to understand these domestic violence situations because I'm like, I've seen people they were in abusive churches where basically every Sunday they're going in and the preacher is preaching a sermon to them. Now it's like me. I I have this rule, Aaron. You have one time to preach at me. If and I'm discerning. So if I thought you were preaching at me, we're fucking done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not coming back to you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time I went to a revival, and this and the host pastor, when he's doing his wrap up after we had all preached, he's like saying stuff, and first of all, he's not just preaching to me because I understand the context. He's fucking turning around from the pulpit and looking right at me. You know, so I was like, this is the last time you and I fellowship. That's in my head, you know, and that was it. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so people they get trauma bonded, or the whole familiarity with time and all of that. It's like, okay, well, I've been with this person for 20 years, and and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to move on. No, it does make sense. It does make sense. If you're fucking miserable, get free. That's the thing. There are people in jobs like for example, you're in a job, you've been working for this job for 10 years, and you know that this is grinding you to a pulp. But it's like, well, I've been there 10 years, I've got some seniority. Well, you're not moving up the executive ranks, so what the fuck? Go find something else. It's
Yeah.
not too late.
Yeah.
And then one more thing before I shut up is this, because I am 61 years old.
Yeah.
Right? I don't look it. but I understand that there is likely more runway behind me than there is ahead of me.
Hmm.
So that means I have to make the most out of everything else that I do. I have to make the best of the rest of my life.
Hmm.
And so that means that, the people in my life, I have to, I can only afford to invite people in my life who are invested in my life, who are going to love me, who are going to encourage me, who are going to challenge me, who are going to, feed me emotionally and spiritually, and that I can reciprocate, right? And so this is another thing that I want to say to everybody out here, that when you find that person, hold on. I'm going to say hold on tight, because this is another subject for another time, because I always say hold on to things loosely, because if you hold on too tightly, that's when you get injured, when tragedy or circumstances happen, because it does. But when you find that person, that is your love and your happiness, hold on. And
Hmm.
that's where I'll stop.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Mm. So let's talk about some other aspects of this. So,
Okay.
what are some things we talked about? Relationships, right? We talked about a little bit about religion. I mean, at the end of the day, I dumped religion because it didn't make me happy. So, I think, what are some other things that might be causing people unhappiness that they hesitate to want to let go of? Um, you mentioned a job. I've worked at this company for 10 years.
Hmm.
Um, I've got some seniority. I've got, my, we call them COLA raises, cost of living it
Yep.
raises. Um, but you're not, climbing up the ladder, or maybe you're not happy. I remember, so one of the things, two things that happened to me, like my whole deconstruction there was so much synchronicity to it. It just, when I think back on it, some of the stuff that I forgot. But, I wake up from this, people have heard my story. I wake up from this meditative experience and realize it's all effed up. I'm not happy with it. I tell people, I was climbing the ladder of success only to get to the top and realize it's leaning against the wrong building for me.
Yeah.
And what do I do now? 45 years old, and I go to Phoenix, Arizona, and I had committed to 2 ministry trips because I was doing quite a bit of traveling back then. So I committed to 2 ministry trips, one to California, Venice Beach, and one to Little Rock, Arkansas.
Mm.
And I'm sitting in the Phoenix airport waiting. No, I think when I was going to Little Rock, we went from Phoenix to Dallas, and then I lay over in Dallas, and then from Dallas to Little Rock. That's how it worked.
Yep.
So I'm sitting in the Dallas airport, and I'm in line there at TGIF, and big long line, and I'm in front of this guy, and this lady says, I could seat both of you. I have a table for 2. If you guys don't mind sitting together. And so I look at this guy, I'm like, I'm cool with it. And so he's like, I'm cool with it. So we sit down and we start talking. Now think about where I'm at, right?
Yep.
And I'm talking to this guy, and he's probably about your age, Derrick. He's probably about 10 years older than me. And he starts telling me his story. He was a commercial airline pilot, but not like for the big ones. He was flying little Cessnas and stuff like that for private paying clients
Yeah.
back and forth and around the country, right? But this guy had a PhD in engineering or physics or something like that, and he was teaching at an Ivy League school. I want to say it was Notre Dame,
Mm.
or one of these big name schools. I don't know
Yeah.
if Notre Dame's considered Ivy League, but you get it.
Yeah.
And he said he just was sitting there one day, and he decided he did not want to spend the rest of his life in the classroom, and that he was unhappy teaching and unhappy in the academies. And so he just got up one day and quit his tenured professorship at this prestigious university. And he said his wife, who was also a professor and in academia, didn't understand why he was doing what he was doing, didn't agree with what he was doing. So they got divorced. So he just took up flying because he's like, what do I want to do? What's going to make me happy? He said, I've always wanted to fly. So he just went and got his pilot's license, you know.
Mhm.
So one thing leads to another. He ends up getting this, you know, commercial grade pilot's license or whatever, where he can fly these private jets all over the place. And then his brother was creating it wasn't eHarmony, but it was a site like that, right? He was creating the algorithm for it. So he tried his brother's like dating algorithm or something on his dating site, and he met this woman who lived all the way across the country. But they fell in love, and because he was able to be a pilot, they were buying a house in Phoenix. She was going to keep her place in Seattle, and he was going to keep his connections on the East Coast, and they were making it work. But the whole time I'm talking to him, like he's talking to me, like he's like, you know, you can walk away from something that you invested your life in, do something that you love, and things can work out for you. So that was that one. So then, like a month later, I go to Venice, and I don't want to give away too much, but I started talking to this guy that was a prominent minister in his country where he was from, and we go for a walk on the beach, and he starts telling me how he, you know, had this mega church and all this stuff, and about how he burned out, and he was just living his life, just what's today, you know, what's going to happen today. And it wasn't like he was loaded. Now, he did come from a family of money, so he did have some backing there, but a lot of it was just money would come in. You know, he'd get temporary jobs, or I think he had published a book or something like that, but it was just enough to sustain, you know, his single life. But so here I'm confronted with two examples of people who had gotten past their crisis point and were happy, while I was in the middle of my crisis point thinking, do I really let all this go, or do I hold on to all this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I can't remember the movie where it's like the signs are everywhere. You know, it's like one of the Fools Rush In. You know, God rest Matthew Perry. But in that movie, you know, it's like signs are everywhere. You know?
Yeah.
Synchronicities. And so I don't know why I'm telling those stories. I guess it's because those are two examples that stood out to me, that were very, what are the odds I'm gonna be standing next to that guy and we're gonna get seated at a table in the Dallas airport? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then meet this guy a month later that's telling me a similar type story. So those are examples of, you have those crisis points. You can't embrace something new if you don't let go of the old first. And man, do we cling on. And I do that. I cling on hard. And some of that's, I'm a very loyal person.
Yep.
And sometimes loyal to a fault, right? And so anyway, I feel like I'm rambling.
Oh, dude, you're on it, man. You know, I want to share a story. I love stories, but one of my favorite stories is a guy, a singer, Bill Withers. Everybody knows Bill Withers. You know, ain't no sunshine when she's gone. They know Bill Withers. You know, Lovely Day, right? Grandma's Hands. Everybody knows Bill Withers, right? What they don't know about Bill Withers is that he grew up in Arkansas, and he joined the Navy. And he was in the Navy for 6 years, and he got out and he went to work as an aircraft mechanic. But while he was in the Navy, to pass the time out at sea, he bought a guitar and taught himself how to play it.
Mm.
And so he played this guitar, and so when he gets out, he's working as an aircraft mechanic, and at lunchtime he'd go off, you know, somewhere remote, and he'd take out his guitar after he eats his bologna sandwich, and he plays his guitar, and somebody heard him, and they said, listen, they have an amateur night that you really ought to plug into. You ought to plug into it. Just, you know, because you've got a great voice, great sound, right? And so he goes, he plays, and then he becomes known as he gets some work as a songwriter. And then the next thing you know, like somebody says, man, you need not to be behind the scenes, you need to be out in front,
Mhm.
right? And he was like, oh, okay, you know, long as I get to do my music, I don't care. So he gets out there and he starts strumming this guitar and he starts playing, and the next thing you know, he's Bill fucking Withers, right? And so he played for years, and then basically he stopped. He stopped recording. And people say, well, why do you stop recording? You stop recording in your prime, right? Well, he was like raising his kids and counting his money, you know. And what he did was, music was not the thing that actually made him happy. What he did is he started a charitable trust, and he gives away college scholarships. And so his kids, he has a son and a daughter, that they basically run that charitable trust. That's what they do for a living, right? And and what he did is he set them up so that they would have money, they would have a job that they would never have to stress at, and then and that basically he was able to give away something to the kinds of people that he was when he was a child.
Mm.
So the music became a means to an end to his happiness, right? So that's another thing that I want to say to you, to everybody that's listening, is that sometimes things, you may do something that is a direct, uh, it may be the thing that makes you happy, and then it may be the catalyst to the thing that makes you happy. One more story. One more story. Do you remember when Curtis Martin got inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame? Did you ever see his speech?
I don't, not that I recall. I remember when he played, but
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
recall
you,
seeing
you got to go back and listen to his speech. But basically, he was saying that, like, his mom was a single mom, but she was a nurse, she was a professional, and she knew that if she didn't give her kids something to do, they'd wind up, you know, a slave of the streets, right? So she put her kids in sports,
him.
and
Mhm.
so he played football. And he said the first time he got hit, he hated it, right? And then he became angry with his mother for making him play, and he wanted to quit. And his coach said, "No, you shouldn't quit. You're good at this. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll go to high school and you'll play ball and you'll set records. You'll be great." So he goes to high school, and he's playing high school football, and he sees how the politics behind it, and he hates it, and he wants to quit. And his coach said, his sophomore year, he's like, listen, don't quit, because this could be your ticket out of here. You can go to college. So, okay, great. So he goes to college, and again, he's like, fuck this, man. I'm tired of getting hit. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of, and so coach told him, said, listen, don't quit. You could play pro ball. So he plays pro ball, and he suddenly has all of this money coming in, more money than he knows what to do with. You know what
Sure.
he does? He lives utterly and completely beneath his means. Never buys expensive cars, never buys expensive homes, none of that. He socks away and invests all of this money.
Love it.
And so now he has a charitable trust that provides college scholarships to inner city and rural kids who wouldn't have that opportunity. And he
Love it.
said, he said, he said, football has been very good to me. He said, but I've never loved the game.
Wow.
But it facilitated me to do what I truly love.
Love that.
And so I think about this, right? Because in my job, you and I, we've talked about this. You know how I feel about my job.
Hmm.
And I went through a season where I was cursing this fucking job. I was like, God, I want to get out of this. I want to get out of this, And at that time I was in ministry. I said, I want to preach full time. you know. And then when I got out of preaching, I was like, that's okay. Well, I want to write and teach and speak full time, right? And that eludes me to some degree. Now I'm on a path now. I'm on a program. I'm on, that I'm moving toward this, but I realize that there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people out here that would give their right arm to be where I am. And this job has not only allowed me to live the dream of a 9-year-old boy from Detroit in the hood, but it allowed my kids to live a life that I only dreamed of at their age. It allowed me to live in homes and to visit places and to drive cars and to wear clothes and to have things that I only dreamed of having. And then I look back on my life, and I've told this story. I did this in my master class. I told this story that there are 18 people in my in my life who I have helped directly attain six-figure careers.
Mm,
That's my professional legacy. And two of them are legitimate millionaires. One of them is like in 8 figures.
mm,
Okay. That's my legacy. That's what I've helped people do, right? That was not possible without this job.
hmm
So I've learned that, okay, yeah, this is not what I want to do. This is not what I feel like I was born to do, but I'm able to make the most of it. And so now I no longer curse it. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. This is great. I like, so what you were saying, when you can acknowledge, hey, I'm blessed. I am fortunate. I've got it going on. I'm experiencing the best. And this is what I want to say. I want to stop with this and kick it back to you with like a question, right? Because people will ask, they'll listen to this and they'll say, okay, what can I do to find happiness? Because here's the thing, you and I have something in common, is that even in spite of all of the circumstances and the hardships and the traumas that we've been through, right, that we are pretty happy people. So for people listening, how can I be happy? And there you go, man.
Well, I think we've been talking about it, right? I mean, you have to make some tough choices sometimes,
Yep.
but you have to identify again. So another story that changed my life. Um, I've been pretty fortunate financially. I've made some, and everybody's made a few bad financial choices, but I've made some really good financial choices. But it didn't start out that way, because of where I came from and because of my story. I didn't give a crap about money for the first 15 years of my adult life, right? Like I'm 35, 34, 35 before I even give a crap about it. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't care about material things. I was bitter. That stuff can be taken away from you in a moment's notice. You can't find happiness in that stuff. And all that, the trope, right? And I had good reason to be there with that. And first time I had a chance to host a legitimate millionaire in my home. He owned 3 or 4 businesses. He's a preacher, but he also owned 3 or 4 businesses. He was also a pilot, incidentally.
Mm.
We would go out and spend time at his place, and he had a place in just outside of in the Sugarland area of Texas, just outside of
Okay.
Houston there,
Yep.
and several acres. Had his own airplanes with a hangar and a strip there where he could take off and land from his own place. And swimming pool, whole 9 yards. And so I brought him in to do a economic conference, financial empowerment conference for our people.
Mhm.
And so I had him in my house, and I'll never forget. We're sitting across the table, and he's asking me about my budget, and I didn't have a budget, and we were in debt, and I didn't have any savings, and I didn't have any retirement, and and I guess he could tell I was bullshitting him, because you feel ashamed, or whatever. here this guy has all this money and I don't have anything and I'm feeling intimidated. He's older, probably 20, 25, maybe 30 years older than me at the time. And he said, Aaron, he said, you're never going to get free until you tell yourself the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that hit me hard, man. And so I looked at my life and I said, okay, what's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The truth is, if I add up just my basic bills, I'm not counting new tires or oil changes or incidental expenses. I'm talking, you know, house payment, utilities, groceries, a little bit of recreational money, little bit of, household items, stuff like that. And I was $500 behind every month based on the money that I was bringing in.
Mm.
And so I just kept going deeper and deeper into debt, had owned debt on cars, credit cards. And so I had to say, okay, I've got to make some really hard changes to my lifestyle if I want to be in a good place. And so, long story short, a couple of years, we ended up paying off all our debt, ended up starting putting some stuff in savings. Like I said, ended up making some good investments and have been disciplined. So since I was 34, I can honestly say that with maybe the exception of this year, we have been very disciplined to live below our means and save and invest money every month since I was 34. So that gave me the ability to get through COVID, the shutdowns. And when I didn't have a W-2 job or whatever,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So there was a lot of assistance there coming from the government, whatever. And certainly offerings weren't coming in because we had shut down the church at that time. And then to even live beyond my means the last couple of years because we had enough, packed up in savings and whatever. But all of that started because I had somebody tell me, look, if you want something to change, you've got to be willing to tell yourself the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And until you can do that, so there is an element of truth to the statement that the truth will make you free.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so how can I be happy? Well, it starts with the truth. It starts with telling yourself the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in a verifiable means.
Yeah.
Like it was verifiable. I'm $500 short every month off just my basic bills, and I don't have any extra for new tires or broken washing machine or anything like that. I don't have any emergency funds saved up. I'm paying more than I should for things because my credit card interest is so high.
Yep.
That was verifiable truth, observable, measurable, and unrepeatable. If I made a choice to change my ways. So that's what I would say.
And that's what, Aaron, that's really, I think, what it comes down to. I think that the that the key to happiness is being honest with yourself. That if you're not willing to deal with yourself with integrity, you'll never be happy.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'd go so far to say that you'll be fucking miserable.
Hmm.
And that's another thing, like with me. So let me say this, that like the budget thing, that's something that I really need to pay more attention to, because I spend a little bit more freely than I should.
Mhm.
But I understand that that's an issue. That's a problem with me. So I'm dealing with that from a posture of honesty. I
Mhm.
know that this is something that this is a shortcoming. This is a challenge for me. So this is something that I need to deal with. I need to be intellectually honest about that, or not just intellectually honest, but honest. Period. But I think that a lot of people who are unhappy, and this is another. I'm going to keep talking about this masterclass thing, because I really believe that the people who are the happiest are the people who know themselves, right? And what do you do if you're in a relationship with someone you know, you respect, you honor, right? So you're going to deal with them what in with integrity. You're going to deal with them truthfully, honestly, right? So you have to have that same kind of respect and relationship with yourself
Mm,
so that you can be, you love, honor, trust, respect yourself. Okay, tell yourself the truth. Deal with yourself with integrity,
mhm,
right? And so I'm thinking that the happiest people in the world are the people who are the most truthful with themselves.
mm. Wow.
I really, really believe that. And I think that the more honest you are with yourself, the
Real talk.
happier you become.
Mhm.
And I know that well, let me say this. I can't say that for everybody empirically, but I can say that for me, absolutely. That when when I realize, okay, number one, uh, I'm suffering silently. I'm going through shit. I'm not sharing this with it because again, to say something for you and what you mean to me is that when I finally came and told you some things, it was like, you're like, dude, why did you wait this long kind of thing. Okay, so let me say this to everybody that's watching. You need to have people in your life who are, first of all, they're going to love you, they're going to champion you, they're going to cheerleader you, but they're also going to check you.
Mhm.
That they're going to, and watch this. Let me say this because I've said this before. Is the difference between a criticism and a critique, right? Because a critique is designed to help you. It is designed to put you in a posture for improvement to grow in real time, right? But a criticism is designed to put you down. It's designed to take you off your square. It's designed to break you, to knock you down a peg,
Mhm.
right? So you have to have people in your life that like I said, champions, cheerleaders, coaches, and those coaches, the coaches are going to check you. They're going to be like, okay, I see where you're making the mistake, but if you think about doing it this way, if you try this might help you, right?
Mm.
This might improve this. I remember another story. I had a coach in football because when I was fast, but I wasn't quick fast.
Mhm.
And the reason why I ran flat footed.
Mm.
And so the coach said, lean forward a little bit when you run in your gait and get on your toes more. He said, get on the balls of your feet and push with the balls of your feet. He said, and I guarantee you that this is going to help you. And Aaron, it shaved like almost a half a second
Mm.
off my sprints, the 40, the
Mhm.
100. It changed how I ran. And
Mhm.
and pretty soon I was like, and this is a true fact. At once upon a time in my life, I ran a 4.40.
Wow. That's impressive,
As a,
especially for a guy your size.
yeah, but I mean, I wasn't always this big. I mean, when I was younger, I was probably about 100 pounds lighter.
Yeah,
So
but still,
I didn't have as much mass
how
to
tall
push
were
on,
you?
but it was still pretty fast.
Yeah.
Uh, the moral of the story is that the coach is going to provide you with positive
Mhm.
changes.
Yeah.
And so whereas the critic just like man, I think what you're doing is bullshit. I think that you're never going to succeed and all of these other things, right? That's what the critic does. So you need to make sure that you have these people in your life um, that that are going to speak life to you. They're going to speak life to you. But let me say this, that having all the right people in your life to speak life to you doesn't matter one fucking bit if you're not being honest with yourself.
Mhm.
Because if somebody's telling you, "Hey, you're great, you're wonderful," but you're spending too much and you know that you're spending too much, or you're engaging in harmful behavior, or you're being rude and cruel to people, and nobody's checking you on these things. Nobody's offering you some positive reinforcement, some positive critique, something that can help you be better. You know, I'm at the point now, and this is part of the key to my happiness, is that the only people who get to be in my inner circle are people who my cheerleaders, my coaches, my champions.
Mm,
If you're not one of those people, if you're not doing something that's going to help me be better,
mhm,
or that I'm a value add in your life where I can help you be better,
mhm.
you know what? We have no fellowship. I mean, it's like I'm going to be cordial to you. I'm going to pass you and hey, how you doing? But as far as like, are you in my space?
Mhm.
No, you
Yeah.
can't be in my space. So that's part of the key to happiness. You said, I mean, you really nailed that, and I want to reinforce that. I want to piggyback on that. That you have to um, be honest with
Mhm,
yourself. You have to be honest with yourself.
mhm. And that's hard. That's not as easy as it sounds because we all have defense mechanisms. We all have. Nobody likes to feel mm, less than. I guess I don't know how to say it. Nobody wants to feel. We don't like to feel that. We don't like to feel. It's funny because we were talking about Taylor Swift. You were talking about the Kansas City Chiefs earlier, right? And
Yep.
so for whatever reason, and I don't, I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan. I could take her or leave her, right?
Yeah, and you're not a Chiefs fan either, by the way.
I'm absolutely not a Chiefs fan, and the fact that she's going to Chiefs games and all that doesn't help. But my family members, the rest of them, can't stand her, cannot stand her music and all that stuff. But her song, what is it? Anti-Hero is catchy, right? And the chorus goes, she's singing, it's me, hi, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me,
Mhm.
at tea time, everybody agrees. I love that song. It's catchy, and I just love the lyrics, and and so it'll come on the radio. I want to listen to it or something, but my family hates that song, right? They hate it because they're like, who wants to go around? I don't want to go around, making the affirmation that I suck, basically, that I'm the problem in life. And so the point is, none of us likes to feel like that. I mean, that's not true. That's not true, Derek. There are people who love the attention that comes from being histrionic or being the victim or commiserating.
Yeah.
Uh, we call them professional clients in the field. They don't have any interest in improving. They just want to commiserate with their therapists and so there are people out there, but as a general rule, most of us have defense mechanisms that we've built up psychologically to prevent us from feeling like we're the problem, right? Looking in the mirror, and so therefore, because of those defense mechanisms, it can become exceedingly difficult to tell yourself the truth, which is why it's so important to have friendships like ours. And that's something both of us are really fortunate with, because I don't know, how do you do life without people in your life that you can trust, that will speak the truth to you,
Yep.
but they'll do it, like we used to say, so really speak it in love, genuinely, from the position of, I care about you. I want to see you at your best. I want to see you living your best life. And so therefore, I'm not afraid to speak what I see, but not from a haughty or arrogant space of, you need to do what I say, or I'm smarter than you, or I know the way and you don't, which is what a lot of people do, which is what all religious people do, right? Which is what even in our comments tonight.
Yeah, the comments are something else.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it's that kind of thing. It's like there's not an ounce of the only the energy and spirit in that is pure superiority.
Yep.
And, why those people can't just get a life? I mean, what kind of life must you have? Like, it's so inspiring. It's so inspiring that you are so happy and you have such a great life that you have to spend your Friday night of all nights
I know.
live on the channel telling us what we need to do, and you don't even know us.
Right.
Why would you even care? So that's my thoughts on that. But you see what I'm saying? So, but to be able to have someone in your life that it's like, hey man, this is what I see, this is what I think, but it's coming from a place of respect, it's coming from a place of love, it's coming from a place of integrity, not from a place of I know better than you. If you do it my way, things would work better for you, or I have some superior revelation or illumination or knowledge that I have to share with the world because that will make the world a better place. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's just a totally different. And so I think all that to say, it's hard to tell yourself the truth. And sometimes people lie to themselves on the other side, the flip side of the coin. Sometimes they've got more, and I tend to be this way. I tend to be self-depreciating. I tend to overanalyze sometimes where I might be in the wrong. And that's where you challenge me a lot. It's like, no, dude, like, like, like
You're
it's
fucking
not this
awesome.
way. So hearing the truth isn't always you suck, you're the problem. Sometimes it's like, man, I think I'm the problem here. And you need somebody to come along and say, no, dude,
No,
you're
you're
not
not
the
the
problem.
problem.
You're good. And that can also be the truth, right? It can pull you out of a self-deception, a false
Yep.
humility, a wrong perception of reality, those kinds of things. So I think
And
everybody needs to have a friend like you.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and you, because this is something I went through. And again, when I'm being transparent, when I was going through my suffering silently phase, and I just felt like, oh my God, I'm not, I'm not worthy of being loved. You know, I'm not worthy of being loved. But then I had some key people, you among them, that said, dude, no, you're absolutely worthy of love. You're absolutely someone that someone will want to be with, and all this other thing. Basically, I had people that came in my life and they began to say some things to me that it changed everything. And so when I realized this, because here, let me say this. I've never had a problem with self-esteem.
Hmm.
I never had a problem with self-esteem until like the last 4 years,
Hmm.
last 4 or 5 years. And then all of a sudden I find myself in a strange place because, and I'm unhappy because I'm not my normal self, because I've never been arrogant, but I have flirted with cockiness.
No,
you know,
I don't believe it.
no, no. Hey, listen, basically it's like, okay, I know I'm good at certain things. I know that I have certain abilities, and I'm not bashful about that. I'm like, hey, yeah, I know I'm good at this, right? And not being arrogant. So when you're arrogant, just so everybody understands the difference between cocky and arrogant, right? Because there is a nuance there. It's like cocky is just means like, hey, I just don't think that I can fail, right? Arrogance is, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it at your expense. I'm going to do this and I'm going to shit on you in the process. That's arrogance. When you're like, okay, yeah, I'm the shit and you're not. That kind of thing. I've never been that guy, but I've been cocky.
Yeah,
I've flirted with that many times in my life,
sure.
but I got to the point where I was like Austin Powers. I lost my mojo, but now I got it back. This is like how Stella got her groove back. That kind of that's anyway. That's the thing. So let me just say this in parting, and then I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, all right.
Um, what I think, again, is like, if you want to be happy, happiness is a choice, first of all, right? And people say, "Oh, okay, you can't choose to be happy if you're being beat down." Okay, there's some truth to that, but what you have to do again, the things identify what makes you unhappy, and then do two things with them. You mitigate the things that you can't change, and eliminate the things that you can. Take care of that. Now what you've done is everything that brings you unhappiness.
Hmm.
You've either eliminated it or you found a way to compartmentalize it
Hmm.
so that it minimizes the damage in your life.
Hmm.
Once you've gotten rid of that, I mean, once you've dealt with the unhappiness, now you can say, okay, what are the things that make me happy?
Hmm.
And for some people, it's taking a walk in nature. For some people, it's painting or some other artistic pursuit. For some people, it's music. For some people, it's gifts of service. Like you were talking about your mom being in service organizations. For some people, that's it.
Hmm.
And then the other thing too is I think part of the key to happiness is really taking a lot of the focus off yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, highlight someone else, accentuate someone else, edify someone else, encourage someone else. And I close with this story. And this is not an original story. My brother Brian told me this story, but I used to use this in preaching, but I'm going to use it again in not preaching. Right? A guy comes into a doctor's office and he's got on a trench coat, and he tells the doctor, he says, "Doc, I've got this pain in my side. I've got this pain in my side, and I don't know what to do with it." And so the doctor says, "Well, look, let's take off this coat and let me examine you, and we'll see what's wrong." And so he gets the guy to take off the trench coat, and the guy has an arrow in his side. And so the doctor says, "Oh, easy peasy. We're gonna schedule you for emergency surgery, and we're gonna remove that arrow, and you're gonna have relief right away." And the guy says, "Hold on, doc. Hold on. Because when people see this arrow in my side, they have sympathy for me. When people see this arrow in my side,
Dude.
they strike up a conversation with me. When people see this arrow in my side, some people even want to give me money." He says, "So, doc, I don't want the arrow removed. I just want something for the pain."
That's good, man.
Take Here's the thing. This guy was unhappy because he let the focus be on himself.
Mm.
If he were to have that arrow removed, he could now place that focus on someone else.
Mm.
And that is part of the key to happiness. So that's where I stop, Aaron.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place to stop. Let me just check in with the comments here a second. Just a second here. Um,
Well, almost all of
oh
the
my
comments
God.
are from one person.
Yeah. Wait. Oh my God. Oh, Derrick, I have never in my life seen such powerful, anointed comments. Dude, I can feel the fire. I can feel.
The power
I am
of the
cut.
Holy Ghost.
I am cut to my core, like David when he cut the cloth of Saul's garment. My heart has been smoten. The conviction of the Holy Spirit has come over me, and the scales are falling from my eyes. Can you believe the power in these words? No. I'm serious. Just let me read it to you. Listen to this. Oh my God, I've never ever, dude.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
I have
blaspheme against the
seen
Holy
the
Ghost like that.
error. I have seen the error of my ways. Listen to this. This is going to change your life, bro. You need to ignite his light and life within you. Whew.
Let me put that on the screen.
Let's see. Oh my goodness. Self-esteem leads you nowhere. Who knew? Humble and purify yourself. He showed you the way. Dude, that changed my life. So much power and anointing right there in that comment. How could we have been so misled all these years? Thank you. Blessed be he. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You must have prayed up for hours or must have the secret sauce to igniting that kingdom within somebody, because those comments were so powerful and so anointed and so inspiring. I'm going to go, Derrick, and rethink my entire life now. Bro.
Could this possibly be the catalyst, Aaron, that brings us back,
dude,
to Jesus?
I'm gonna have to rethink my life now.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's just, there's so much power in that. Whew. I can feel the glory.
This is another one. It's like, have you learned to control the things that you don't understand and understand the things you can't control?
No.
Only through the power of the Holy Ghost.
I haven't. I've been blind, brother. I've been the blind leading the blind. So on that note, I'm going to go rethink my life. Maybe I'll find some more happiness. Maybe I'll find that kingdom within. I'm going to look within, bro. Thank you, blessed be he.
Kingdom. Find the kingdom.
Thank you. Helped our algorithms.
Yeah. Here's another one. You can't learn if you're not purified.
Oh my goodness. Can you feel the weight of those words? Can you feel the power in them? Life-changing power in that, bro. Life-changing power.
Changing. Self-esteem leads you nowhere.
Yeah. Who knew?
Who knew? Who knew?
Well, all right, my friend.
All right, brother.
After I contemplate my life for about 5 minutes, I'll give you a call.
Yeah. Hey, as we contemplate these words, Reverend Aaron, can you please deliver the benediction?
Peace and hair grease. And thank you for coming to our TED Talk. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for growing with us in real time.
Oh, I love that. Love that. That's better. I love it. We got to adopt that from now on. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Love you guys. See you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.